Hello everybody and welcome back. This is JudiciousFire. I'm on the iOS server. I'm going into my 6th and final installment in the Hero Compendium series. This is video 6 and we're going to wrap it up with our final dozen heroes in the Heroes Compendium. That is the chronological ordering and organization of our heroes, their journey, and their story. Well, it wraps up today with our final dozen. We're going to go into some heroes that have multiple uses, multiple applications, others that are very much defined by one or two abilities. We have a very diverse spread here. Seems to be a bit of seesawing back and forth. One hero 1 month is amazing, and the next hero the following month ends up being a bit of a dud. So we have a full spectrum to take a look at here. We're going to jump into our very first hero, and that hero is Shura. Shura does some damage. He puts a natural scatter, a reduction in energy, out at the beginning of the battle. And he also has the capacity to deflect 50% of the damage that he takes. Just like with Mike, just like with Destroyer, just like another hero we're going to get to in this dozen today, I have pretty much given up completely on the part of the skill description that describes deflect. Deflect in this game is just, in my opinion, not cutting it. It's best to look at deflect in two different ways. There is what we send back at the attacker, and I found that never to be enough to actually knock out the attacker. Pretty much the person being attacked is the one that gets killed. Then there is the more passive effect to deflect. It negates the damage that the hero is going to be taking. Now, that hero doesn't take that damage. It's like a natural stone skin. Total damage reduction is deflect, if you want to look at it that way. So not just what we're sending back, but what we're negating from taking in the very first place. And Mike can still do that. And Destroyer can still do that. And Shura here can still do that. I'm just not worried any longer about sending any kind of deflect damage back at the enemy. So I'm not at all worried about giving this guy survivability talents, something like a Sacred Light. Yes, the damage reduction is going to interfere with what he deflects back at the enemy, but who cares? It's not going to. That's not going to help him. He needs to stay alive. He is not a flying hero. He does not have any innate healing ability. He's a guy who can go out pretty quickly, even with this deflect. So I give him the Sacred Light. That's really going to help him. In terms of crests, there's so many different crests you can run with him. Insignias. The Vigorous Fury gives him the same health bonus as does the Vital Boon. But I find the Vigorous Fury, at least as long as the hero remains healthy, it's going to be pretty much a guaranteed increase in critical likelihood. Whereas with the Vital Boon, it's only a 60% chance to debuff the heroes in front of you. And once they're in front of him, really up close, beating on him, it's sort of too late. So there's a lot of different ways you can run him. Also, a Revitalize can be very, very helpful to get immediate skill activation. You can put him up in the front of your Lost Battlefield team. I would say that's about as close to offensive as I would care to get with the man. A more defensive build. We've got Survival for the total negation of damage. And we're throwing the deflect completely out the window here. He still is going to get a negation of that 50% of damage and 3 seconds of invulnerability. But we're not worried about what we're sending back. And in addition to that, we're going to give him a total defensive build with the Sacred Light paired up with the Survival. He can, all on his own, with his natural immunity to stun, he can solo insane dungeons 7-10. Park him on one end of the board. You don't need any magic, nothing. Let him alone. Come back 2 minutes later, it's over. And this is the preferred build. This is the one that, for me, actually keeps him alive on a base as a Guild Wars defender. Keeps him alive as a hero through something as lengthy as a dungeon. So as far as his statistics here, we've got him over 50,000 damage, about 1.4 million health. Okay, accuracy and dodge, relatively similar. A slightly higher critical likelihood than many heroes receive through the breakthrough process, and that can work very well with the Vigorous Fury. Holy Conviction, he's not an innate healer, but certainly when he's running the survival, he is, and he's going to get a big healing boost. That's going to help to keep him alive, but really I'm interested more so in the damage reduction. That, in and of itself, makes the enchantment worth it. And health to soak up the heals, health to be under attack and to allow that deflect in any way, shape, or form. Even the damage he's negating to allow that process to even happen. I could go even dodge on the man because I've so turned my back on the damage caused by deflect from Shura, as well as the other deflectors in this game. But so far, I'm going to keep it at health, and I think he's doing very, very well. He doesn't die anymore. And he used to in any kind of a Guild Wars defense. A Levanica would take him out. The Dovekeeper would take him out. Even if they receive his deflect, they have a damage cap, and they can't go beyond that. So Shura is, I would say, a preferred hero. Would certainly make dungeons a lot easier, but by no means is Shura an essential hero. You're not going to get to any door or wall that bars you from making progress in this game without an Shura. In fact, when you get some of the heroes that have a higher survivability rate, as well as can do more damage, are far more mobile out there on the board, you'll be using those more often. So I use Shura less and less these days. Next, we have Mahatma. Mahatma does a ton of damage and very, very rapidly. She is kind of like a cannon, a rapid-fire cannon. Mahatma, that speed attack, as well as an incredible range, one of the longest ranges in Castle Clash. All of that is made even more deadly. With a Zealous Drive, I think it helps to keep her alive because a dead Mahatma isn't going to do any damage, but can give her an attack boost, as well as will give her a range boost. That added to her already extraordinary range. Front row of your Lost Battlefield team, your Labyrinth team, means you're going to get, in most circumstances, first fire. And that can mean the difference between a win or a loss. So extraordinary with a Zealous Drive. She has great damage per second, fantastic attack rate. If you're going to be running any kind of damage cap modes, and I like to do that, bosses, goblins, creatures, archdemons, things like that, I always like to keep some kind of a high DPS option available. And with Sunder and her amazing abilities, she's going to get a lot of hits in. Something like a Lava Isle, Lava 3, Lava 4 becomes a heck of a lot quicker with a Sunder Mahatma on your side. As far as with the Zealous Drive, I often pair it with Unholy Pack, and she's one of the few that I do that with. I trust in her ability to lower her damage. That's part of her skill, to take 75% less damage. And I trust in her firing rate as a cannon. And so an Unholy Pact pretty much clears everybody out. long before she's in any kind of true danger. By keeping the Unholy Pact with the Zealous Drive combo, I get everything that Unholy Pact the talent gives me, and then in addition, 7,251 extra base damage to Mahatma. It's incredible. If I were running it the other way around, let's say I'm running a Zealous Drive, I'd be losing 3,000 base damage added to Mahatma. That's part of her multiplier. It's an important thing to look at these insignias and how they match up. Obviously, the effects are going to be first and foremost, but if you can figure it in such a way that you get the highest statistical bonuses in addition, then your heroes are really going to benefit. If I'm going to be running the Sunder for many hits in combat, I would pair that up with a Brawler's Favor. She is going to be a powerhouse. I have a Silencing Shot. You pair that with the Zealous Drive, and you have a range bonus now of 2. And I believe 2 is what equates to 1 wall piece in the game of Castle Clash. So imagine moving a wall piece around in your mind. That would be the range bonus that she is given to her already considerable range. So if we meet up against a Mahatma who has not explored Silencing Shot and Zealous Drive, then we are going to get the first fire. Almost all attack. Her rapid fire, based on my experience, does not require massive accuracy. I would rather her do massive damage and clear people out. She is almost at 55,000 base damage, about 1.2 million health. See her accuracy, only with one trait given to accuracy, it's already over 4,000, and everything else is put into damage. With this Zealous Drive combination, really any of the combinations, but like loading a cannon, if you're having difficulties with, say, a Dovekeeper, well, with the Favor talent, Oracle, say you're having problems with a Levanica, go Brawler. Problems with Pesky Walla Walla, run your Saint, and she becomes a destroyer of any of the Castle Clash heroes that fall in those 3 Warden factions. I often use her to help to whittle down the damage cap on Dove, and I've run her in HBM AJ to much success as well. A terrific hero. I would say Mahatma is a absolutely preferred hero throughout the entire game. Even in the very niche realms like Warden Challenge, she holds a significant role. And she's a great combination of a hero. The only thing she's really lacking is a little bit more movement. If she could fly, get up over walls, if she could heal. You could put her life drain on her. I just find that life drain tends to suspend a battle that you were already going to lose anyway. Better to beat them as quickly as possible with somebody like Mahatma. If you're going fast, terrible, horrific damage, go with Mahatma. So a very preferred hero, but not essential to the game, and not anybody you have to go super out of your way to get a hold of. But when you get her, you will value her. Rowdy Rascal. Rowdy is a hero that when under attack, okay, when attacked, so he's got to be up in front. He's got to be face-to-face with a hero, or he's got to have somebody's crit strikes raining down on him. at that moment, he has a 40% chance to summon a helper by his side. One of the helpers that he can summon does a reflective damage, sends damage back at the attacker. Okay, I've never found this stuff to work in this game at this point in Castle Clash. He also does a big heal. Okay, that I've seen work on Rowdy Rascal well. If the other little rascal is summoned, Rowdy, our main hero, gets a big attack increase. I've found that these rascals, even though they only have a 40% chance, they typically do summon very, very quickly. And you typically get an overlapping, if you will, shared time, brief shared time between the rascals. And I've seen that to be a very effective part of his skill. I have not seen the reflect or any of that bear fruit so far. So at this point, he really is a damage dealer, a little bit like a ranger or an archer. He can hit from a distance, not across the board, but he can hit several squares away, and really does have a good chance to pull out those helpers. If he goes toe-to-toe with some of the big high-level breakthrough heroes of today, he ends up getting himself killed. There is that reflect component to his skill. I've abandoned it. Instead of holding on to these old traditions, I'll move along. Let's go with keeping this guy alive. Now, with all the extra health and the damage reduction and the Rascal's ability to heal and the attack boost, he becomes a kind of a all-around one-man gladiator in combat. With the Sacred Light, I can run a regen, get a big energy boost, big healing boost, 130% greater than it was originally, and really nice statistical bonuses. This is the one that actually keeps him alive. Okay, this setup right here is where he can go and, I'm not going to say solo against Zephyrica and Levanica, but he can solo a board, he can solo a raid, he can work his way around some of the biggest heroes of today. And when I run the survival, I run the Sacred Light. That matched up with, he is a healer. Now he has a lower probability to heal than many. Chance does play a part, but he has a good chance. It's going to be happening during his life, especially if you're able to keep him alive with something like the survival and the Sacred Light. And he's got 3 minutes of life on his hands. The Holy Conviction is going to give him a great damage reduction, as well as even greater healing than the Regenerate. Now we've got it stacking, if you will. And also health to soak in all of these heals. And, okay, we're almost at 50,000 damage. But you see we're about 1.3. And even with all that health, all those health bonuses, about 1.4, we only get up to about 1.4. But that survival is going to give him the heal that he really needs. It is 2,000 attack. Look at his skill. 1,600 of the hero. So survival is a great base talent to have, and it's very low statistical bonuses at level 9 as an insignia make it a great base talent to use. Nice accuracy. We're not trying to dodge. The Rascals are triggered when he is under attack, so we're staying away from dodge. Another reason we really stacked health. Rowdy is a fun hero, I think, throughout the whole game of Castle Clash. He has some role, perhaps, in a Warden challenge or two, but by no means is a preferred hero, I think, really, in any game mode. Just a fun hero to play around with and to experiment with and watch the little rascals come out. Okay, Bogeyman. Bogeyman is probably the most deadly sniper in the game. He does a whopping 1,350% attack damage to 5 enemy heroes. So not all 6 of the enemies, but 5 of them take a huge strike from Bogey. Bogey has the ability through adding to his attack, his damage output. He has the ability to kill any hero in the game, with the exception of those that are unable to be killed because they have a damage cap, like Dove or a Levanica. As long as these things are functioning, or a hero that has some kind of invulnerability at that moment. But if you're vulnerable and you weren't gifted with a damage cap in this game, you can be killed by Bogey instantaneously. An amazing lost battlefield hero. One of the top player versus player heroes in the game. Up there with a Storm Eater, perhaps far better in those modes that he is guaranteed to hit 5. Storm will just hit what's in front of him in that circle. Bogey is not only a great player versus player hero and does well with the Revitalize, but he is also an auto-proc hero. And with an Empower, sit him on your base, and every couple of seconds, he will send 5 horrific strikes down on enemy heroes. Enough to kill anybody who does not have a damage cap. With the Revite, and if you still do Lost Realm, Bogey is one of those great heroes that with a Revitalize, he'll make going into Lost Realm less of a chore. Each of the battles will last approximately 1 second on the clock, and you'll just be clicking, boom, 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 you're through. So he takes care of pretty much anybody in front of him with this setup, and I run the Unholy Pact, and I get 190% attack increase to what he already does. And the damage that he receives, he has a low survivability rate when he is really toe-to-toe with some of the best, but he isn't supposed to last long, I believe. This is why he was given a built-in revive. He's not supposed to last long. He's supposed to be that glass cannon. He's like a Spirit Mage 4.0. And after he's fired, he's pretty much done. That's running him that way. Now, with an Empower, and I'm talking about going a full, long base defense, full, long battle against top heroes, I would still be running the Unholy Pact. He's that good, and you can keep him alive. As long as you've got a good team and you've got a healer on the team, got maybe a buffer and a debuffer, got a good Walla on your side, built a Red Warden team, he's going to do a great, great job. So a lot of different applications for him, and one of the best auto-proc heroes in the game, and certainly one of the strongest heroes in the game, made even stronger with a Victory Lunge. This guy's all damage. I just want to give him more damage. All attack. Up that damage range of his. Make him as strong as I can possibly do. You'll want to stay away from Wicked Armor. He has a built-in Wicked Armor. Already even better than the talent itself at level 9. And you'll want to stay away from Revive. You're not allowed to use a Revive or a Wicked Armor on the man. I just go all damage, make it short, sweet, and simple. And that is the tune he whistles as he takes out about 3 or 4 out of a 5-person Lost Battlefield team. He's coming in at 56,500. One of the highest damage guys that we've come across. And about 1.3 million health, but that's not what he is designed to be. Not designed to be a survivalist. Designed to be an attacker. We've got relatively decent accuracy. The way I look at it, anything he hits, he's going to kill. And if he didn't hit him, he wasn't supposed to anyway. Okay, this is why he has a revive. He'll get you on the second one. And I've not investigated crit in any way. I've gone straight raw damage. Bogey is I think, a highly preferred hero. Not essential. I can't put him in to that team of 6 that I envision in my head if I were building the perfect team. He does have a tendency to die too quickly. He does have that tendency to be broken after he's used only once or twice. He is also very unto himself. He does not help other members of your team. He doesn't provide a buff or a debuff to your team or against the opponents. He is just a straight raw damage dealer. So if you're going for that in player versus player battles that last, typically around 10 seconds, 15 seconds, then he is your man. An incredible hero. So highly preferred if you're interested in wiping out the enemy as quickly as possible. Okay, next hero we have Commodore. Commodore is a reflector. Reflect in this game, we are sending damage back. So I get hit for 100, I send it back at you. You get that 100 back. With deflect in this game, we are negating damage. I get hit for 100, but I don't lose that 100. It is dispelled, then sent back at you for 100. So if you are the defender in this case, defenders do very, very well with things like deflect and reflect, in theory, on paper. And I've never found that to work very well in this game. Deflect and reflect, with the exception of Atlanticor, who deflects 100% and becomes invulnerable. He's the only one. The rest of the heroes, they die during that process. Commodore is another reflector among the group so far in this compendium that I've given up on that particular part of the talent, of the skill description. Really, it better to look at the skill descriptions of our heroes and identify the one thing that they do best, and invest our time and our resources and our effort and energy into making that one thing even better. Better to have a specialist. Make Commodore the best at what it is she does. Then assemble a team of 6 specialists, and you're going to have an unstoppable team. So use team formation to fill in the gaps. Don't try to make a hero good at everything. You'll find that they're just average at it all. Commodore is a good reminder of that. She does incredible base damage when under attack. She has to be attacked. Could be towers, other heroes. Got to keep her up in front. First or second dropped out on the board. Got to be under attack. She will do incredible building damage and hero damage. Every time she smashes something up, she recovers health. That health is based on the damage that she deals. And she does horrific damage to a base and to the heroes inside of that base. She also has a massive reflect of the damage that is coming her way. And so, hesitantly, like on Mike or Destroyer or Shura, I put talents and, in many cases, traits that were geared towards saving that reflect and deflect and not mitigating damage in any way. And what ended up happening is, against, breakthrough 30 heroes, they ended up dying. When I gave up on the reflect and deflect, this entire top part of her skill, and just focused in on the one thing that she really does well, smash stuff up, she became unstoppable. I'm running Sacred Light, and this might be her main attack setup. And it starts with a defensive talent. I am messing with her reflect. Who cares? That's not what she does well. I'm giving her a huge damage reduction, huge health boost. In addition, helping her natural healing process, given to her while she is doing damage, helping that by 130% and extra energy. Can't complain. Give her extra damage reduction, and now another 100% added on to the healing. All health to absorb all of this. I did a select video on this hero. She came out so well and went from a hero that was prone to dying very quickly to a hero that can go all the way and complete a board to 100%. This is the build where she just becomes a tank, where she will sit inside of a series of auto procs, love doves, Cosmo procs, and she will not be injured. That is when survival is run with a Sacred Light, and it becomes just defensive, nearly impenetrable. She becomes this irresistible force. She really came out well, and while I can't say that she is a hero that is absolutely necessary by any means, she is a lot of fun. She is the kind of hero that she's probably my preferred quest board completion hero. You're given a lot of tasks. Most of them involve attacking another base, raiding gold, mana, and resources. She makes that job a lot easier and a lot more fun. A really great turnout at max upgrade for Commodore. Coming in at 50,000, a little over 50,000 damage, about almost 1.4 million health. Accuracy is not her need, not her necessity. She's going to drop a big anchor. The thing's the size of a truck. When it lands, everything underneath it is smashed. We want to stay away from dodge because her ability to drop that anchor, to smash the enemy targets nearby, and to recover, begin that healing process, that rapid healing process that is triggered when she is under attack. We don't want her dodging. So we stack up the health and we keep her away from dodge. We're not worried about the reflect damage at all. We're trying to isolate what it is that she does best and make her even better at that. So a ton of fun. I would say a preferred hero for the majority of your time in Castle Clash, in the sense that she makes certain tasks a lot easier, a lot faster, a lot more fun, if you can get her to live using these defensive builds. And it's the way that her skill is going to be able to activate repeatedly over a 2-minute time period until you finally get that 100% on the base. It's not going to happen with one skill activation. So damage only gets her killed immediately. We want to go with a defensive build. So a lot of fun, Commodore, but not a key hero in this game, or one that you necessarily have to have in order to have every outlet in Castle Clash at your hands. Let's move on to our next hero. We have Laz. Laz is a bird that puts up an invulnerability shield. It's a shield that's going to last for a certain period of time, a couple of seconds, and during that time, Laz can't be hurt. He can't be attacked, or he can't even do any attacking. He just stands there in air. He's just flapping his wings and all of a sudden freezes. And that invulnerability begins to happen. So he neither attacks nor can he be attacked during that time. During that time, he is also putting out a heck of a freeze, as well as waves of damage. He does a lot of damage. He can do incredible base damage, and to heroes that don't have a damage cap or don't have very high health or very high upgrades, he can take those heroes out with one of those skill activations. That time when the shield is up, at no time is he reflecting or deflecting damage. He's simply going invulnerable. It's not. It grants immunity to attack damage and reflected damage, but he himself is not reflecting damage. Now, if they had made him so he could also put out reflected damage to what he's taking when that shield is up, man would be absolutely unstoppable. But we have to remember, at least I try to remind myself, that he is not a reflector or a deflector. He just goes immune to attack damage for a certain period of time. I try to help that. I like Laz with a healing ability. He lacks that. I try to help that by adding 40% of the time he's going to be invulnerable. And that's not when his skill is activating. You can add that time as well. It's during that time also he's getting a big heal. With a Sacred Light, I get a Laz that lasts a long, healthy life. A life that can go a full 3-minute battle. I have found with a Revive Laz, the ability to come back, I've found then those Laz elixirs to be short-lived. They will typically get killed, revive. Perhaps 2 seconds later, because the strikes that initially killed them, because they haven't ceased yet, they immediately die again. They come back. 2 seconds later, they immediately die again. It becomes this revive dance, if you will. So I found that a Survival and Sacred Light Laz really lasts a long time. I think a little longer and a little bit healthier and more productive a life than a Revive. I think with the Survival, you also have a wonderful option in like many player versus player modes. Lost Battlefield, Arena. You can give a Revite, even a base rating, and just get it done quickly. Want to collect some gold, do with the Revite, done. And it makes that whole process a lot easier. He has a tremendous range in terms of his damage. Those waves of damage. Now, I do have the Revive option, and it is a necessity, at least I'm finding, in Insane Dungeon 8. You have to be able to use this man in Insane 8 to get through some of those boards and get a 3-flame. And you've got to employ Revive in one way, shape, or form. And a lot of other things. But Laz really does play an integral role in the Insane Dungeon 8 series. And that Revive is an absolute necessity there. He's coming in at about almost 50,000 damage. About 1.36 million health. Accuracy. I've never really worried too much about his accuracy. He puts out a pulse that can be 1/3 of the size of a base. Okay, he's going to hit pretty much anything and everything during that pulsing wave cycle. Very high dodge. I've given him damage reduction. And I've given him, when running the Survival option as the talent, I've given him a double healing process. That double the efficiency of the healing process. And it really does make him an all-around stronger and longer-lasting hero. Because he does not reflect with his shield nor deflect, we don't have to worry in any way by stacking the dodge. Nothing about his skill is activated by him being under attack. Not like a Rowdy Rascals that we've looked at, or a Commodore, where they must be attacked. He summons an ice shield, and he will deal damage. He is not constrained by these things that the prior two heroes have been. Laz is, I would say, an essential hero in this game. He is a part of a base defense team. He is part of an offensive team. He has a variety of game modes where he really shines. He has one game mode in particular, the final stage of Insane Dungeons, where he is required. At least to my knowledge, when trying to achieve 3 out of 3 flames for that particular dungeon stage. When you get him, you'll love him. I was always surprised that he was not one of the new dragons in Castle Clash. I thought if they just gave him the ability to perhaps reflect or deflect, I think in this case it would be deflect because of the immunity to attack, to deflect some of the damage that he takes when he has that shield up, or they give him some healing capability, then he would be on par with any of the dragons in this game. And I still stick with that and have tried to build some version of that by giving him innately immunity as well as healing, as well as damage reduction for when that shield goes down, and being able to do that doubly. But if that doesn't work, let's not get hit. Okay, keep your fingers crossed and hope for the dodge. Laz is an absolute essential hero in Castle Clash, a beloved hero, an amazing hero that's multifaceted, and with skin or no skin has a lot of style. So if you can get a Laz, you'll absolutely appreciate him. Okay, Plant Warrior. Plant Warrior is a reminder of our cycles in Castle Clash. We have a 1 up month. We seem to have 1 down month. Plant Warrior has limited use in the game in the sense that he does a little bit of, he has 1 use. He is a good illustrator that we need to isolate and identify the one thing our hero does well and make that even better. Well, Plant Warrior does a whole bunch of different stuff, but none of it very well. So it's difficult to have a successful build on a Plant Warrior where he is able to stand toe-to-toe against some of today's top heroes. I have tried to keep Plant Warrior alive. He is a healer. Now, he will not heal your whole team, only 4 members of your 6. He also has some ability to grant an extra attack through those 4 others. They are granted an extra attack cycle. I've never gotten it to work, and I'm a DPS guy. The Sacred Light is going to just at least keep this guy alive. Because he is a sufficient healer, not in quantity, he's only getting 4 out of 6, but in quality, he's doing a very efficient heal. He gets that multiplied by 130 with the regen. And this is the one that actually keeps him alive. We're able to take these 2, pair them up, and all of a sudden we've got a Plant Warrior that is able to stay alive, and that I have brought out on a lark now and again during like a Guild Wars attacks to see if I can't get that extra hit, or to take on one of the bosses, or in a Warden challenge. So he does have places where he is usable and functional, but it has to begin with at least a foundation for keeping the guy alive, a defensive foundation. I think that is where the game is going, and with a guy like Plant Warrior, he's a sitting duck. So it is good to make sure to give him some place where he can take refuge. With the Holy Conviction, he's going to get the damage reduction, big healing addition to what he already does. And I'm running dodge on the man as much as I can. Nothing about his skill or abilities function based on being attacked or under attack, like many of the heroes that we have seen. So he's, does a little bit of damage, does a little bit of healing. I would never put him on a team above a Walla Walla, one of the heroes we've looked at in the compendium, who is an essential hero in Castle Clash. Plant Warrior is just fun. I think that when you get somebody like a Walla Walla, I don't think that you would be using Plant Warrior. So maybe niche modes, maybe some kind of small role or game mode in Castle Clash, but I don't see him being a major force anytime soon. Now, coming in at 51,000 base damage, it's not too bad. About 1.2 million health. Not a lot of health for him, even though he is a healer. Really nice dodge rate, a relatively good accuracy. What is he doing? He's healing us. They don't miss with that. None of the heroes can miss with those types of things. Providing a buff to your heroes, making them stronger. They don't miss. So just a fun hero to play around with, but by no means what we would call a preferred hero of today. Plenty of better heroes to put your time and your resources into developing. Okay, Rosaleen. Rosaleen does an amazing amount of damage. She does damage based on the health of the opponent, with the exception of opponents that have a damage cap, like a Dovekeeper. She can't cut through that. But she can do the big bosses that we're fighting in, big centaurs that we're fighting in Lost Realm. She'll cut through one of those in a matter of seconds. She has the same ability as a Storm Eater to base attacks on the health of the opponent. So because of that, she can do a massive amount of damage. She does it in a ring around her. That ring remains as a circumference of damage. She can't attack globally. She can't send it out. She can't fire it across the screen. She is an auto-proc hero, but like several that we've visited out of the 72 legends thus far in the game, she is it's an auto-proc that serves no utility or purpose in the game. She will be on a base, and if I were running in Empower as a talent or insignia, then every couple of seconds that Ring of Doom would spin around her, and then it would stop. Then it would spin around her again a few seconds later, and then it would stop. So it isn't something that's going to be harming the attackers to your base during a defense scenario. And it isn't going to be helping the members of your team in any way to buff themselves. She is just able to do damage and heal herself. Very much an island unto herself. She's not a team player. She's a great member of a team, but she's not a team player. She doesn't help your team in any way to get stronger or better. I find that a Sacred Light is a wonderful thing to get her health up, to help her with her damage reduction. She already has considerable damage reduction built in to her magnificent healing, but that can be improved even still with another damage reducing talent. They don't stack in this game, but it is a multiplicity scale, and you will see that with every addition of damage reduction, you will get a smaller and smaller percentage of the damage that you were originally taking at the start of the equation. I think that Wicked Armor gets her attack up. Also keeps the damage reflect. When she is spinning that circle of doom, she can get a lot of reflect and deflect damage. And that I think these two are amazing. She can do a great job offensively with the Sacred Light as the base, with Wicked Armor as the insignia. I would probably say, in terms of if you want to give her some damage negation outright, 40% of the time, as well as a second heal in addition to her already amazing skill heal. Maybe you're expecting some terrible company for Guild Wars and you want to have her on your base. She's not dying this way. Okay? Or you put a healing pet on her in addition to the Holy Conviction for the extra healing multiplier, and all dodge. Nothing about her skill requires her to be under attack. She is, and her hero attack. It's her damage through her hero attack, ATK, that's her base damage, what you will cause on a base damage basis, but it's also 13% of the target's maximum health. That's not changing until we up skill levels. We are almost at 50,000 damage, maybe 1.35 million health. Amazing dodge. Higher accuracy, I think it would benefit her. Absolutely. I look at it that if she is dodging and getting out of the way of harm entirely, then she is benefiting from that ultimately, because it's going to allow her to continue to activate her skill. There's not going to be one attack in this game that kills today's top Premier heroes. It's going to be a 3-2-minute battle where multiple skill activations are necessary in order to get anything done. Rosaleen is, I'm going to say a preferred hero. She is great at what she does. I think that her inability to work more cohesively on a team is a liability. I look at somebody like Laz Analysis, who we just looked at. That big freeze, all of a sudden the bad guys in front of us, they're just standing there. They're frozen. That is a huge team help. That's a team builder, Laz Analysis. Rosaleen is not quite that way. She is a heck of a defender, heck of an attacker, major damage dealer in this game, one of the most efficient healers, but she doesn't pass that on to any other member of your team. And I think because of that, she is a top 10 hero, but she is not one of those 6 that I would assemble if I were going blind into some game mode and expecting terrible trouble. I would much prefer to have any of the heroes in this compendium that I've identified as essential and that I know are going to make a major impact or difference in that game mode. Rosaleen is not that, at least not to me. So absolutely preferred. When you get her, you'll enjoy her. You'll value her as a hero. You'll use her in multiple game modes. She can be a lot of fun. But there is no realm to Castle Clash that is barred or locked if you don't have a Rosaleen. We have moved on to Cosmo. Cosmo is a hero that puts up a paralysis bubble. All right, this big bubble forms randomly on the board, and any heroes that are trapped inside of the bubble are paralyzed. and they can't do anything. Meanwhile, he is inflicting horrific damage on them. Cosmo is very successful at doing exactly that, putting up a bubble and inflicting horrific damage on people. For that time that the bubble's up, the heroes can't move. So he is successful at that. The problem is the heroes inside of his bubble often have reflect or deflect or a flame guard or some kind of through a pet now, some option to reflect or deflect damage. And it goes right back at Cosmo. And this has happened many times that Cosmo gets himself killed because of that reflect or deflect. When Cos first came out, I did a lot of testing, and I really enjoyed Wicked Armor. And he is one of those heroes that I think truly benefits from it. I think one way or another. I'll show you the different combinations. He has a great utility in player versus player modes. Another guy like Bogey. He'll wipe out most of the board except for the damage capped heroes in one revitalize, one skill activation. So instantaneous skill activation, but the Wicked Armor, because it gives a big attack boost, and all the guys that he soaks up inside of his bubble, and when they reflect or deflect against him, they're not going to kill him. This gives him a chance to have that second attack or that third attack. This is where you can actually use him in a base defense scenario and not lose him right away. So I find that Wicked Armor is at least part of that equation in some way, even with a revitalize for player versus player. He is a fantastic revitalize auto proc hero. And with Empower as a talent or as a insignia, he can do a great job defending your base. It's through Empower and that auto proc. Even through that process, I would still be running a Wicked Armor. I think that it's what helps to make his whole engine go. I find it to be like an offensive Sacred Light for the man, so not just a huge boost, but also very much a defensive oriented talent. It's going to be the reflect or deflect off of heroes, then multiplied and sent back at him. That will kill him. So wonderful hero to use. If you're finding that he's getting killed, hey, Sacred Light can help to take care of that. Even if you're running a Revite, allow him to activate his skill more than once and survive past that initial skill activation. But especially if you're running him auto proc as a base defender during something like a Guild Wars, allow him to get that Wicked Armor in there some way. I have him set up for Archdemon. It's a game mode that I very much enjoy. This is a specific setup from this point forward for that Archdemon. You do need a revitalize at the start of that process, yes, but I would also be using this in something like the Arena or a Lost Battlefield, so it serves a multi-utility, but the Pyre Mage is specific to Archdemon. A Malaise is great on the guy to help him with his base defenses, cancel out the healing on the guys that are attacking the base. A Victory Lunge is going to get his attack up. Maybe it's a little bit too much attack. Maybe you're going to find he gets killed a little bit more quickly. Something like a Holy Conviction, it's going to give him the extra damage reduction, as well as a big healing bonus if he is able to heal through enchantment, trait, pet, teammate, even through something like a talent like a survival. You can do a lot of different things with this guy, but try to keep him alive. This is a hero that can go out very, very quickly. I have him set up for Archdemon all attack, so he can get to the 500k and sustain that. I think that a dodge would be wonderful on him, help to keep him alive. There's nothing about his talent or abilities that provide that he be under attack. He does get a little bit of damage or attack boost, all of this, but really we're after his bubble, that twilight bubble, that paralysis bubble. We're about 53,000 health, almost 54,000 health, or 54,000 damage, about 1.3 million health. You can up the accuracy, up the dodge on this guy. I decided to go all damage for a specific game mode. So you can do a variety of different things. I would not investigate crit in the sense that you're only given 6 trait slots, and there are so many better uses for Cosmo than a crit Cosmo. Better to keep him alive with some dodge. Heck, I'd go even health beyond before a crit. He does 1,000 times more damage with the bubble that he creates. Let him create, making that Twilight Dimension bubble again by keeping him alive and keeping that wicked armor on him in some way, if he can. Cosmo, I think, is an essential hero in this game. Today's archdemons can't really be done without the guy, and it will be probably a year, could be more, until they make a hero that is able to replace him in that capacity. He is a hero that I'm using in Insane Dungeon 8. Certainly a preferred, if not essential hero in the last stages of the dungeons that they've just released. I would say that he is a hero that is going to help to unlock a couple of the doors that might, prevent you from being successful in a specific game mode. Something like Forgotten Trials. The last, maybe say, 10 stages of Forgotten Trials. Well, if it's proper to the Warden factions that are set up in Forgotten Trials, if you're able to use Cosmo in some way, all of a sudden, boom, and 15% of the game board has been turned to dust. Okay, so a really, really amazing addition to Castle Clash. A hero that is going to be essential through some of those last stages and most recent additions to the game. And a hero that is very, very preferred among players, from players that are lucky enough to get him at the start of their game, all the way up to players who have been playing a very, very long time. I think everybody sees value in some way when it comes to Cosmo. So a really great hero in addition to Castle Clash. Okay, Ripper. Ripper is one of the top base defenders in this game. I really got to hand it to Ripper in his ability to suppress the incoming enemy. When you're attacked in, let's say, a Guild Wars, and you have maybe 6 heroes coming your way towards your base, he's going to do tremendous damage. Not bogeyman level damage, but, up there, near there, same ballpark as bogeyman kind of damage against 5 heroes. He's going to take away their buffs. The things that made them strong, now they're a weaker team. He's going to silence them. That's the prevention of their skill activating. Very much like an Ares. And he is going to cut down their healing capability by 90% for 3 seconds. During that time, he gets a big dodge bonus. Okay? He deals damage that under most circumstances can't be dodged. So, big idea, when he's sitting in one place and you come towards him, you're going to get hit with this wall of devastation where you can't heal, you can't grow strong, you can't use your skill, and then in addition, you're getting hit with 1160 of Ripper's attack. An amazing base defender, one of the best in the game, but he has to be the member of a strong team. Otherwise, he's going to get himself killed. So a lot of this is based on how we're going to keep this guy alive. He is an auto-proc hero. One of the true definitions of an auto-proc hero. A wonderful, wonderful example. Very much like Anubis and Walla Walla. Those three reds, those three brothers in arms, they earn their place here in Castle Clash. Ripper with the Empower is going to get extra health, as well as the ability to activate his skill while not under direct attack. The Wicked Armor is invaluable. It is going to be always my go-to. Very, very seldom, if ever, have I ever switched to a Sacred Light. The Empower with the Wicked Armor has always kept this man alive. That combination. Now, I have used him in attack scenarios, offensive scenarios. He is not an attacker. He is not somebody I would go out necessarily base rating with. I do bring him along on Guild Wars attacks because I like the things that he does, and I like how he supports the team, but I always park him off in the corner and don't try to keep him away from getting into direct contact with the enemy. I always try to shield him in some way. And as survival, running with a Wicked Armor, where immediate skill activation or auto procking isn't necessarily something that's desired. This is an offensive scenario. That can be very helpful. The Sacred Light, if you're having a issue with survivability beyond that. Even an Empower for the extra health, but also when you park him in the corner and he starts to make that walk towards where the stronger of your heroes are located during that time, he'll be able to activate his skill and already start joining the battle without actually getting up into the faces of the enemy. Really, really great hero, but you got to keep him out of the fray and out of that danger. I push so many different ways to run a Ripper. A Malaise would be great because it would make him an even better base defender. I like the fact that he does such tremendous damage. That 1160 of his attack to 5 heroes. And I like to give him a little bit of extra damage. Another reason I like to run Wicked Armor on him. A very, very helpful hero in the latter stages of the Here Be Monsters series. And I run all dodge. He gets a dodge bonus. He's kind of designed to be a dodgy kind of guy. A bit like a rogue, or like a mage rogue. He's going to stay out of danger with that dodge. And we got about 53,000 damage, 1.3 million health, a relatively decent accuracy. The more accuracy you're going to have, the better time you're going to have keeping him alive. Hitting the enemy. But I thought the dodge was more important. I would rather him be able to stay alive to continually activate his skill, especially in a defense scenario, than to be worried so much about missing or hitting specific enemies. So one of the heroes that I use auto proc in Infernal Summit 4, I use him in many, many different game modes. Ripper is an amazing hero. I'm going to say that in the way the game is going, Ripper is just at that phase where he's moving from a super preferred hero that makes certain game modes easier. I think he's moving into that realm of being an essential hero. Maybe he's not quite there yet, but the longer time goes on since his introduction to the game, the more I find that I'm using him in base defense scenarios and that he is becoming very, very essential. The guy's like a walking malaise enchantment, and that's necessary against who's attacking you. He's a silencer. That's necessary with the way heroes are built these days. And he's one of those heroes that can actually do these things well and remain alive. Unfortunately, unlike an Ares who has been relegated to the past. So I'm going to say that he is at the highest end of preferred, but will be, I think, in the next couple of months as the game begins to develop more and more. We'll be moving into that essential hero category where Ripper will be major part of anybody's base defense. Okay, we got Valen. Valen's a barbarian, and he throws out this spear of light and destruction. Okay, the spear goes out in 4 different directions. A perfect X each and every time. That range on that X is one of the highest, if not the highest, in Castle Clash. His range is extraordinary. But his attack, that damaging X, is always limited to that shape. So, for example, when he sends out his attack, if the building 45 degrees diagonal from him, if that wasn't hit by that X, the building's still there. It's that X that always defines his damage perimeter, the location where he is actually able to strike. That's one of the limits to him. He doesn't attack globally. He doesn't even attack forward in that manner. He attacks in that specific cross-shaped area. So if you are using him to defend your base, keep in mind that you've got players who say, well, I'll simply drop my heroes where that cross-shaped area provides a shielding or protection. So it is very much a hero that can be fooled in that manner. He is also a hero that requires the dealing of critical hits in order to make the second part of his skill work. He has a big crit rate, and he gets health every time he performs a critical strike. So the cross-shaped damage, as well as the ability to gain health by creating critical strikes. There's 2 kinds of crit. You've got the likelihood to crit, and you've got the damage that the crit inflicts. This guy gets a big health boost every time he crits. So it would be my recommendation to go towards a higher likelihood to crit. Then he'll heal more often. We're not so worried about the damage that he inflicts with his crits. We want to make him crit as often as possible. He came out at the same time as Vigorous Fury. If you want to get that second part of that skill activating, where he's actually filling up his health meter, in addition to making that damaging cross-shaped pattern, then Vigorous Fury is going to help with that tremendously. It's going to give him a big health bonus and a huge crit increase, so he'll be having a higher likelihood to crit. With that, I run the Sharpen, and I love it. This man actually stays alive. He has a survivability issue in this game, in the sense that, like so many of the heroes, his ability to do half his skill, in this case, to heal himself and keep himself alive, it's based on the fact that he's right up on somebody, smashing them with critical destructive force. Well, during that process, he can get himself killed. So he is a hero that's got to be right up there in the fray like a juggernaut in order to actually get that healing going. But with that crit rate increase, again, we have to worry about those heroes that have dodge. So you can never get too much a critical rate increase, as well as that big accuracy. It's going to make him a more efficient crit hitter. Not going after damage. Going after that healing process. And with this build, he is able to survive, I'm going to say, a heck of a lot longer than I see him with even a Sacred Light. Because what it is doing is it's trying to make him a defensive hero. And he's not. He's like a nuclear reactor. The more energy he puts out, the more energy he gets back. So you've got to, in this case, health. So you've got to be able to get get the engine going in that process. This is going to help tremendously. Double that healing capability. And if you want any damage reduction, get it through the enchantment and use the talent slots as something that's going to be a real big game changer for this guy at least. Critical likelihood. That's the blue crit. It's going to give you a higher likelihood to crit. The red crit damage is going to make you a more damaging crit striker. It's just going to add damage to when you crit. I want to make this guy crit as often as possible, but also not get himself killed on the walk up towards doing it. The walk from the edge of the board towards the people, the heroes that he's attacking, that can get him killed. I have dodge on him to help him stay alive and to have a more of a utility as a hero. After the Vigorous Fury, there really isn't a talent so much that he needs. His whole life process is based around the fact that he creates criticals. Now, I could run a Sharpen, certainly, but it's I can run that as the Insignia very, very easily. If I want more damage, and nothing wrong with that, I can run a Brute Force. I get a big attack boost. Now his critical damage is increased already beyond what it is by the bonuses provided through his skill. So he'll do fewer crits, but they'll be of a much higher damage ratio. So that's certainly very good. But I found that Vigorous Fury and the Sharpen really does get the job done. Beyond that, I found one niche use for him. I'm not saying this is the one I'm not actually recommending. I'm just saying this is a heck of a lot of fun. Once you have a Valen with Vigorous Fury, you don't really need much else. So I run a Revitalize on him. He's an auto fire hero. Okay? So he's auto proc, first of all, but he'll just put out that crisscross, and that can be very easily circumvented by the enemy. But in terms of a Revitalize, he's auto fire. The moment he enters into a game mode, he will immediately fire that cross-shaped, crit-striking skill activation. If you use him in Arena with a Revite, the moment the game mode begins, he'll fire it off. And you'll be close to your own side of the board, and the enemies will not be harmed in any way. But when it comes to a player versus player mode, where there is a lot smaller game board space, say maybe 9 squares, like in a Lost Battlefield, or something like a Lost Realm, where there isn't so much room to move or maneuver, and there's a lot less room between you and the opposing team, that automatic cross-shaped damage skill activation wipes out the other team. Just like with Bogeyman, just like with a well-tuned Mahatma, anybody who doesn't have a damage cap is gone the moment he auto-fires that skill activation. So if you want to make going through Lost Realm even faster, and just be able to pick up your crests and insignias and your gold packs as quickly as possible, run a Revitalize on Valen, and you won't be disappointed at all. We've got ourselves, oh my gosh, almost 52,000 damage and about 1.25 million health. Accuracy is it would help in this process in order to hit, but at the same time I wanted a higher crit likelihood, because that is really what the skill descriptor reads, and the extra dodge to keep him alive until he gets that giant engine of his going. You can see his crit likelihood. I've found that anything over 1,000 or 10%, anything above that is something that you can, expect to happen. I can't say necessarily rely on it, but you can expect that process to happen. So it's a little bit over 1,000 that I start seeing that heroes really take on a crit ability. And the crit damage already at 6,200. So crit damage is not something we're after. We're after crit likelihood. Valen, I don't think that he is a necessary hero in the game. He's a fun hero to play around with. If you were to get him and you've got other core heroes in your team that are part of a team that can defend and attack, do every game mode, go with them, okay? If you don't have a Max Pumpkin Duke, make sure you're working on him long before Valen. This is a hero that is a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of smoke and mirrors, a lot of flash, really nice design in terms of his look and his presentation in the game. But the reality in Castle Clash means it's very difficult to keep this man alive. It's only through multiple repeated crit striking that he can even survive. And you really have to invest in heavy breakthrough and upgrading to get him to the point where he is reliable in any way. So a lot better heroes to put your resources into. I would just say a hero that leans from fun to preferred in specific game modes, but not a hero that you need in any way in order to be a successful Castle Clasher. Okay, we are going to move into our final hero. This is going to be hero 72 in the compendium. That's 72 legendary heroes that we went through over a 6-part series. We are here to our most recent addition to the Castle Clash Hero Compendium, and the most recent dragon released in the game of Castle Clash. Every year they give us another dragon. Every year it comes with much anticipation. Every year it comes with its own share of criticism as well. And I will have, in my review of Saphirica, I will try to be objective, but I'm sure I will throw an opinion in now and again. Let's take a look at the hero Saphirica. Okay, Saphirica does two completely different things. First thing Saphirica does this repeated machine gun-like rapid fire attack. And that attack is called true damage. And it puts aside or erases most of the damage reduction that we have on our heroes today. Okay, so the damage will cut through that. If you look at damage reduction like a bulletproof vest, his attacks will cut through that bulletproof vest and actually get to the hero beneath. It will not cut through damage caps like on a Dove Keeper or on a Levanica when he has his damage cap up, or on a fellow Zeph. It won't do that. It will always adhere to what the damage cap specifies. But it will cut through, Sacred Lights and Stone Skins and other forms of damage reduction. It is going to deal a heck of a lot of damage in a rapid fire way. As he's dealing damage, he gets to heal. Now, a moment ago, we looked at Valen. The more crits he did, the more he healed. Here with Saphirica, the more damage we deal, the more we heal. So here he is going to be regaining health based on the amount of damage he does, not the number of critical strikes that he is doing. So he's got that true rapid fire damage, and he's got a big whirlwind as well. This is the second thing. And it paralyzes people for a second, and it can do a lot more damage in one big attack than his rapid fire true damage. The true damage lasts for a long period of time. It's sustained accumulative damage. The whirlwind is just one big swoop. Okay, so he does two completely different things. The one at the top, the true damage, the rapid fire, you can get his base damage, the sword. You can get that up, and he'll do more damage. But you can't use any of the normal talents or insignias in this game to augment his damage. If I gave him an unholy pact, or if I gave him a war god, if I gave him a wicked armor, all of those attack bonuses, tack plus 100, tack plus 190, none of them would have any effect on his true damage capability, that rapid fire attack. They will all have an effect, though, on the whirlwind. They'll make the whirlwind stronger. He has a damage cap, and so damage reduction talents aren't going to do anything on the guy. The only thing that he can have that's going to reduce his damage is a flame guard. That'll bring his damage cap down. He'll take less damage, and also a victory lunge will take away some of his damage cap, and that'll help him. So he can't be made stronger with attack talents, and he can't be made to be more survivable with damage reduction talents. So we have to kind of go carefully when we look at our Zephyrica. We have to look at which of these two is more important to us. Is it the big whirlwind, or is it the true rapid fire damage? Now, my call as a player was that the true rapid fire damage was more important than the whirlwind. That meant investing in critical. The ability to crit. It will help him to be a better true rapid fire damage dealer. And it will be the only way that we're able to get that damage to be higher. Traditional attack talents won't work. So for the true damage, in order to help him with that, I've given him a Vigorous Fury. It's going to up his health and give him a much, much higher critical rate. A higher likelihood to have the crits happen. Okay, that's like my foundation for this build. In order to get his critical rate even higher, I gotta sharpen. And to boost his accuracy 30%, a whopping 30%, I've got the man running this Sharpen 9. Also a base damage increase of 7186. This is all, again, now this is layer 2 in the equation. Very few enchantments that can directly benefit this man. I have found that during his healing process that is produced by his rapid fire true damage, during that time, he will kill most of the heroes on the base, but he'll have Levanica and Dovekeeper still sitting there waiting for him. During that time when he's performing these amazing crit strikes, these rapid fire true damage attacks, he starts hitting their damage cap. Now remember, he's gaining health based on the damage he does. When he starts hitting Dove's 18,000 damage cap, or starts hitting Lava's 10,000 damage cap, he isn't doing enough damage. That's when I see his health, his healing capability start to drop to near zero. He goes from healing himself for hundreds of thousands down to, when it's just Lava and Dove or maybe another Zeph, down to getting sometimes just a few hundred per heal, because the only damage he is doing is damage against damage-capped heroes at the time when they are not vulnerable. It's during that time that Zeph can get himself killed. I found that Forest Ward, to some degree, helps to bridge that gap between healing processes. I've been out with him many, many, many times in so many different scenarios. And this is, I think, better than the Holy Conviction, because remember, damage reduction isn't going to help him. All we would be getting is twice the healing rate. Well, if I'm getting 647 heal on a 1.3 million hero because I'm hitting Dove's damage cap, or I'm hitting Love Dove, then 100% added 100% increase isn't going to help me, okay? I would much rather have the chance that I'm going to get a bigger heal from something like a Forest Ward that's going to at least be able to make up that gap. I would go with a Malaise as well. Malaise is wonderful. Shut down the healing of the enemy when they're attacking you, or when you're attacking them. Help with that whole process. A nice companion to Ripper. A nice companion to somebody like a Walla Walla who also does this. Now all of a sudden we start to have a pretty good team here. I just find that if you want to run Zeph with one or two other heroes and be successful, and really see what he can do in terms of his limits, a Forest Ward helps with that gap. Really helps with the crit rate and the accuracy. Tremendous help with the critical ability to begin with. And in terms of traits, I am running 5 crit damage and 1 level 5 accuracy. I started with 3 crit 5 and 3 accuracy. I went to 4 crit and 2 accuracy, and I didn't see any dramatic shift whatsoever. I did see a huge boost in his damage, that true damage. Remember, I'm not worrying about the whirlwind so much. I'm worrying about the true damage, the thing that I think that he does best. I'm going to make that even better. I went the way of attack, just normal attack. Save yourself the time. Attack, the red trait. That attack did raise his damage, but very, very slightly. A minuscule amount. Like blink and you wouldn't have noticed that one of your traits just went to a 5 attack. When I would create just 1 extra crit damage 5, there was a huge boost in his critical damage capability. And that's that machine gun rapid fire, and that's what really starts to accumulate over time. So I found great benefit in that. By running him with 5 crit 5, I'm coming in using Vigorous Fury and, say, a Brute Force. I'm coming in at 390,000 per crit. And they come in a rapid fire manner. Now, if I'm going to be dealing with, and I do, I use them in Guild Wars attacks. If I'm going to be dealing with a series of heroes that have high dodge, where I know people have put dodge into their heroes, already just by putting the Sharpen on, I'm getting a far better accuracy increase than I could have ever really given myself through the trait system. So I wanted to put my traits into being able to do even more damage so he can get a better, more effective heal, and we can knock out heroes more quickly. And let the Insignia really do its job in increasing accuracy and, to a certain extent, a critical rate, but to a far greater extent, the health and critical rate given by the Vigorous Fury. So it's kind of like it's the building of a hero from foundation up to the very top and hopefully peak performance. On the other end of the spectrum, I have a Empower. He is an auto-proc hero, one of the best. And he will, and this is one of the reasons I identified the true damage as the most important part of the equation, he will auto-proc that true damage anywhere on the board, globally and rapid fire again and again and again without being under direct attack. And it's a game changer. He can knock out a hero even with a damage cap by slowly whittling down the total overall health pool by sustained multiple high DPS hits. Really, really great in that capacity. With the Empower, I can run a lot of different things. I can run a Vigorous Fury. Now, all of a sudden, I got the auto proc. I got a greater likelihood to crit, as well as all that crit damage through the trait system. Got the auto proc, got all the crit rate increase, as well as accuracy increase and the crit damage. See the spectrum that we're creating? And hey, if I'm not expecting anybody with a high dodge rate where accuracy does not become an issue, I got plenty of damage that I can cook up. I get a 1.2 times crit damage multiplier, and that's going to make a big difference in terms of his true damage. So that is one way to really help this guy. I have never been a Sharpen fan. I never had Sharpen on anybody. I never explored Sharpen Insignias, really. When I started putting Sharpen as a pairing to Vigorous Fury, but then high damage through the traits, and then you almost don't need the Brute Force, you know? But if you want to also run Brute Force, a Sharpen, and a Brute Force, it would be an amazing combo. So I keep the Vigorous Fury probably as his base talent, like his go-to talent, and I run the Brute Force or the Sharpen, depending on what my enemies are going to be. And if I'm doing base defending, I can do all three. The Sharpen, the Vigorous Fury, the Brute Force, all to varying effects, depending on whatever the situation calls for, whether it be a Here Be Monsters that I may be running or a Guild Wars attack. Such a scenario, I might want more damage in a Here Be Monsters. I might want a lot more accuracy through the Sharpen in something like a Guild Wars. But really, really a great addition to the game. If we stick with the rule that we got to pick one thing or the other. I can't have both. Okay? I can't make him a perfect hero. He is a hero that I think has a lot of limitations. It's my personal opinion now. He's a hero that I think is he's far more limited in his build than, say, a Dovekeeper or even a Levanica. You can do a variety of talents and insignias with them. Even the pets that he outfits. Those that provide attack bonuses, and they're not going to have an effect on him. So it really is a limiting hero in that sense. I think that's a little bit of a hindrance to him, and it would be up there as a weakness. I think much like Ripper. This would be my opinion on Zephyrica. Zephyrica is a highly, highly preferred hero in today's game, and I think is going to be moving in the next couple of months into that area of a hero that is really essential for the way the game is played today. I think that, by the time they release Ripper's second skin, we've got one or two new talents. You're going to be seeing a much more survivable Ripper who's able to shut down people in any kind of a base defense. I think maybe Zephyrica could get an overhaul by the company, could get some kind of a buff, or maybe a series of enchantments or new talents, as I hear are always coming our way, will help him to be a better version of himself. So he is at the preferred status, but is not a hero that is currently absolutely essential in any way in this game. There's no progression that you will be denied by lacking a Zephyrica, and no game mode that will be locked off to you by missing this particular hero. So, 1.3, if I haven't looked at it, about 52,000 damage, and you see his crit damage and his 6,200. And very nice accuracy, already 4,000. So a hero that if you build him, from the ground up, step by step, keeping in mind what it is that you want to harness from his ability set and what you want to eject. I think that really is the best plan when it comes to his particular build. Well, we made it through all 72 heroes in Castle Clash. We talked about a couple of things along the way. I would just go out one more time saying, please take the time to look at your hero at what it does well. Our heroes have complex skill descriptions. They're doing multiple things simultaneously. Maybe it's best to invest in our traits, our talents, our insignias, our pet choices, our team formations, the options we're given in this game, to invest them in making those one or two things that our heroes do best to make them even better. There's a reason they have a hero every month. It's not just to sell you a new hero. It is to continue a compendium of experts. Each hero is designed to be unique. Each hero is an expert at what it does. Find that one area of expertise, like Zephyrica with his crit strike ability. Find that one thing that they do well and try to use your resources into making that one thing even better. Thank you all, everybody, for tuning in, and I hope your clashing goes well. This has been a stroll through the Hero Compendium over 6 parts, and this is JudiciousFire, and I will see you on the next set of videos. All right, bye-bye.